This video might bring a lot of hate. This video might bring a lot of love, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to put out love. I'm hoping to put out understanding, and I'm hoping to keep us from being so divided. Hey y'all, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not new here, say with me, hey boo, I see you coming back. Today's video is not the video you're supposed to be watching. I had some videos pre-filmed that was set to go live for you guys, but there was more important things that we needed to talk about. Today we're going to be talking about everything that's been happening. We're going to be talking about racism. We're going to be talking about white privilege. We're going to be talking about police brutality. We're going to be talking about some very real things. History is being played out in front of our eyes, so we should talk about it. If this is something you're ready to hear, if you're on the fence about how you feel, if you don't really understand what's happening, or if you don't really feel like you have all the tools to understand what's happening, please watch. Please listen, please be open-minded, because this is something that's so important. I just think it's time that we talk. That being said, if what you've been seeing on your social media news feeds the past few days have just drained you emotionally and you're not in the right mindset to watch this, please don't. This is a video I'm making not for views, not for new subscribers, not for anything other than just to talk and just for you to hear me. It's okay to click away from this video if you need to. Come back and watch later when you're in a better headspace, when you're ready to talk. I just want to make sure that you're okay. If you saw 2 videos ago that I can get pretty emotional, and I don't want this video to be out of anger. I don't want this video to be me sobbing uncontrollably, which I did yesterday. Yesterday I was in a bad headspace. I couldn't stop crying. I had passion to film this video yesterday, but I just knew it wouldn't be well received if I filmed yesterday. I was not in a good place. It would have been out of anger, and I didn't want to come on here angry because I didn't want anybody to get defensive, and I didn't want it to keep people from hearing me. So I'm going to try to keep all of my emotions in check. We're gonna talk. So let's jump into it. Like I said, yesterday was not a good day for me. I say that like you know what day yesterday was. Today is Monday, June 1st. So today is day 7 since George Floyd was murdered in front of our eyes. If you've been watching the news, if you've been on social media, if you've been looking at anything, you know what's happening. You know that there's riots, you know that there's protests, you know there's peaceful protests, you know that there's just been a divide. So like I said yesterday, I was in a very bad headspace. I was very emotional, as you know I can get. It was so hard for me to get on the internet. It was so hard for me to see what was happening. It was a lot. And I know this has been going on for days, but I don't know what about yesterday just seemed so overwhelming. It was so hard for me to get on social media yesterday and see all of the hateful, ugly, everything. Just to see everything that was happening. To see people hurting, to see people crying, to see people angry, to see destruction, just to see all of it. It was just a lot. It's crazy to think that it's 2020 and we're still fighting the same fights that we were fighting 30, 40, 50 years ago. Nothing's changed. As much as we like to think it has, it hasn't. But first, I just want to start off by talking about white privilege. I just wanted to talk to you openly. I want you to know that this is a safe space, and however you feel and whatever it is that you think, I'm not judging you for that. So many people, when you bring up the words white privilege, they take it offensively. They take it as, I'm not privileged. You know how hard I had to work for everything that I have? Or do you know how hard we struggled when I was X, Y, and Z years old? It's not about that. When I say white privilege, I'm not taking away from anything that you've had to go through, any obstacles you've had to face in your lifetime. When somebody says that you have white privilege, it's because you do, because of the color of your skin. Because of the color of your skin, everything you had to go through in life wasn't made 10 times harder. You never had to think twice about taking a run. You never had to think twice about getting pulled over. You never had to think twice about being in any kind of encounter to where your life might be taken. Your parents never sat you down at 7, 8, 9 years old to tell you this is how you handle a police encounter. You didn't have to do any of that. And it's not your fault that you didn't. And until you and I have a conversation, until we open a platform to openly discuss what's happening, things are never going to change. Until you're open to hearing out somebody else, trying with just any piece of your soul to understand what's happening, then maybe we can see some change. I just want you to listen. I just want you to be open-minded. This video might bring a lot of hate. This video might bring a lot of love, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to put out love. I'm hoping to put out understanding, and I'm hoping to keep us from being so divided. Oppression is real, and until you accept that, you're part of the problem. So like I was saying yesterday, I was just in a very bad headspace. It was a lot. It was emotionally draining, and I say that to say that I am a minority woman, but I'm not Black. And I can only imagine how my Black friends, my Black family, anybody who is of African American descent feels at this moment in time. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that things are happening the way that they're happening. And I'm so sorry that you have friends that are scared to speak out. I'm so sorry that things haven't changed. I wanted to make this video because I don't know about your Facebook feed, but I know mine is, you just see a lot of both sides, let's say. So just seeing such a huge divide it's blowing my mind. The thing that I struggle with is understanding how anybody could watch the footage. Did you watch what happened? Did you see it? Did you actively try to understand what was happening? I don't understand how anybody can watch the footage that was broadcast and still say but what about that sits well with you? And if you're the person saying, I agree, that cop should be locked up, those cops should be in jail, but that doesn't mean we should be looting, but that doesn't cause for a protest. But if you have any sort of but in your mind, how? If you think that everything that's happening around us, the protests, the rioting, call for action, if you think any of that is happening because one Black man died, because one Black man was murdered by one white cop, no, that's not it. It's not because one Black man was murdered. It's not because it was broadcast on television. It's because this has been happening for years. The children, the teenagers, the college students who are protesting now have grandparents and great-grandparents who have fought this exact same battle their entire life. This is so much more than George Floyd. This is so much more than Trayvon Martin. This is so much more than Tamar Rice. These are people, men, women, and children who are losing their life because of the color of their skin. They're losing their life because people look at them and see a threat. This is how they keep being the majority as long as they have minority. If you can honestly sit here and tell me that you watched what happened to George Floyd and you heard him repeat multiple times, I cannot breathe, I just want my mom. As a mother, that should have broken your soul. No matter what you look like, no matter where you came from, no matter what your mother looks like, we all have moms, and you know what it's like to just want your mom. And as a grown man, that's all he wanted. He just wanted somebody to listen to what he needed. And he lost his life because nobody did. Nobody cared to. And he's not the only one. So it's so important that we sit down and we have a conversation, because people need to be heard. Action needs to happen. Change needs to happen. And until our generation, me and you, sit down and have a conversation, and until me and you try to invoke change, nothing is going to change. And I don't know about you, but this is not the world I want my children to grow up in. I'm just here because maybe you're white, maybe you're brown, and maybe you look like me, and maybe you still don't understand. And it's not just the white people with their white privilege, it's also people who look like me. Mexicans, Latinos, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. It's Spanish people who say, Well, they didn't say speak up when our people were in cages. They didn't say anything when they tried to call me illegal. I understand where you're coming from and I understand you're hurt, but now is not the time. And the thing is that I guarantee you, I promise you, if you stand here and you support this Black Lives Matter protest, if you sit here and you stand behind this fight, they will also stand behind you. They don't want to see anybody dealt an unjust hand. They just want everybody to be treated equally. And isn't that what we've been fighting for this entire time? Not just if you're white, if you're Black, if you're Mexican, if you're transgendered, if you're lesbian, if you're gay, we all just want to be treated the same. And that's why it's so important that when people say Black Lives Matter, that you hear them, that you hear that they are saying that I have to sit here and tell you that I am Black and my life matters, because so many people think that it doesn't. Because when I say Black Lives Matters, you think that I only care about myself and I have a selfish agenda, which I do not. Black people don't have a selfish agenda. They just want to be like everybody else, be treated like everybody else. So when people respond with, all lives matter, well, that's not true, because if all lives mattered, then Black people would not have to continuously tell you that their life matters and their future matters and their children matter. Because it's not just Black men that are dying. It's not just Black men that are being killed by the hands of white police and white men. It is Black children and Black women. Let's not forget Trayvon Martin was a teenager. Let's not forget Tamir Rice was an actual infant. He was maybe 10 years old. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye because we choose to just not educate ourselves. We have so many resources at our fingertips. If you don't understand, Google it. And I say that to say also, if you truly honestly don't understand, I am asking you to take the time, take 10 minutes and look into it. Look into the amount of unjust things that have happened to people because they are Black, because their skin is darker than yours and darker than mine. Before I sat down to film this video, I've been watching the news nonstop. I've also been on Facebook, I've been on Instagram, I've been on Twitter, I've been on all the socials. I've also been on YouTube watching other women talk about the subject. I came across a channel, her name is, I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but her name is LACCIUS. I looked and looked and looked and she doesn't ever pronounce her name, so I don't know how to pronounce it. Forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but it looks to be LACCIUS. And she spoke out very passionately about what she's feeling as an African-American woman in this time. She brings light to not just George Floyd, but also Breonna Taylor, who we probably haven't even heard of. There's so many other Black men and women dying that we don't even hear about. We know about George Floyd because people were there to witness it. We know about Ahmaud Arbery because somebody was there to videotape it. But imagine how many lives are lost that don't have a video camera around. Imagine all the lives that are lost that we don't ever hear about. That's what we're fighting. I also say that to say that if you do have Black friends who are not okay right now, and a lot of them aren't, a lot of them are tired, a lot of them are angry, and a lot of them feel like they do not have to explain their story to you because they don't. It's not their job to educate you on why they hurt, and it's not their job to educate you on what's happening. It's your job. I wanted to come on here and say this because maybe it will be better received from somebody who looks like me. Maybe it will be better received from somebody who's not outwardly angry and outwardly emotional. I am a young, educated minority woman, and I'm here to say that what is happening is not okay. I have 2 daughters. They are outwardly African American. You can tell when you look at them that they are Black. And to the world, Horace tells me all the time, to the world you are what you are perceived as. And because they're seen as Black girls, they're seen as vulnerable, they're seen as a target, they're seen as less than a blue-eyed blonde-haired girl, and they're not. The man I love with my entire being is a Black man. He is an amazing father, regardless what people like to think about Black fathers. He is an amazing provider, regardless what people like to think about Black men keeping jobs. He is an amazing partner, regardless of what people like to think about Black men in relationships. But when the world sees him, they don't see that. When the world sees him, they see a big Black man who is a threat. For what? He wants to fight the fight for everybody. If you're gay, if you're Black, if you're white, if you're Mexican, he is going to stand by any fight that you want to fight with you. And all I'm asking is that you do the same. You stand with them because all of their life they've been told that they're less than. All their life they have been told that because you don't look this way, you're not good enough. And until we, the people who look like me and who look like you, until we build them up and until we tell them that they are enough, and until we demand change because we know that they deserve it, nothing's going to change. When I heard George Floyd call out for his mother, it shattered me. The very thing that his mother tried probably her entire life to keep him from is exactly what took him. As a white person, as a Mexican person, as an Asian person, as any other person than Black, you might not understand what's happening around you, but they're tired. They're angry. Imagine being told by your abuser that you're not abused. Imagine being told by your abuser that it's your fault that this is happening to you. Imagine being told by your abuser it's your fault you died because all you had to do was raise your hands and tell them you didn't have any weapons. All you had to do was raise your hands and tell them that you weren't going to hurt them. Even still, they felt threatened for their life. People want to say that if they would have acted different, if they wouldn't have did this, if they wouldn't have done that, then they wouldn't have been arrested or they wouldn't have been killed. And that's just not true. And I'm not here to say that all cops are bad. I'm not here to say that all Spanish people are illegal. I don't think it's right to generalize anything, anybody, any career, any race, any gender. I don't think it's right to generalize, period. And just because there are rioters and people who are bad and are taking advantage of the situation does not take away from the people who are peacefully protesting, does not take away from the people who are laying down in 90, 95 degree weather on hot cement to prove a point. It doesn't take away from those people who are trying to bring awareness the right way. Because on your timeline and in the news media, we're getting thrown all these rioting and violence. That doesn't mean that that's the majority. Everybody's finding an excuse to take away from what's happening and to take away from what we should honestly, really, truly be talking about, which is Black people are still constantly losing their life, all because of the color of their skin. No, I do not think that all cops are bad. What I do think is that if you as a human are seeing another human hurt somebody, steal something, break something that's not theirs, do anything that we know is just wrong, that you would say something. I would hope that. And if you don't, then I can't say that you're a good person. I understand being scared to speak up, but we can no longer be that. I understand being scared to post something because you don't know how it will be received. I feel that way. I don't know how this will be received, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't do it, because you should always be doing things that make you uncomfortable. This is so much bigger than our followings. It's so much bigger than our likes. There's people out here actually dying every single day. And if you can make the slightest difference in that, why would you choose not to? I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you to sit here. I'm challenging you to listen. I'm challenging you to speak up at least once a day. At least once a day. I challenge you to do something that makes you uncomfortable, because the longer we live in comfort, the longer they have to suffer. If you've made it this far and you don't know how you feel, I applaud you. If you've made it this far and you thought coming into this was going to make you angry, I applaud you for not getting angry, for listening. I applaud you for taking the time to make this your fight, because it is. If you hear all this and you feel helpless, you're not. if you hear all this and you're a mother or a father or an uncle or an aunt and you have young impressionable minds around you, educate them. That's the part you can do. You can educate them. If you have family members, friends, co-workers, anybody around you that you hear say ignorant, racist things, speak up, say something. You can start a conversation. You can let them know that just because they grew up in a time to where segregation was still a thing and segregation was still happening, that they're not allowed to talk that way. They're not allowed to act that way. It's no longer acceptable. Until we stop accepting the things that are completely unacceptable, we can't expect change. You're not helpless. You have a voice, you have a platform, you can use it. Down below, I'm going to link sites to sign petitions. I'm going to link sites to give donations. I'm going to leave information that you can text. If you don't have access to a computer, you have access to a phone. I'm just going to leave different links to where you can help down below. It's easier than you think, and I understand wanting to be in the center of the fight at all times, but I also know that it's emotionally draining. If you are overwhelmed, if you feel helpless, I'm so sorry. I understand. And I hope that you take the time that you need to take care of yourself. So just know, while you take a break, I will have your back. And I hope that while I take a break to take care of myself, that you will also have my back. The more we take care of each other, the more people we have to help us take care of ourselves. I want to open up the comment section down below for positive conversation, forward conversation. If you have something to contribute, if you have a question, if you need anything in the comment section down below, please let it be an openly safe space. And if you don't agree, then you don't agree. I don't. At this point, it's kind of helpless. All right, you guys, I guess that's all. I know it was a lot. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people that you love. Check in on your friends, make sure they're okay. Sunday we'll be back to hopefully our regular scheduled program, but I just had to get this off my chest, and I hope that's okay with you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.